What's up, you wonderful Magento loving friends of mine? Joseph here with, as usual, another practice test question for you. I've been on a bit of a architecture kick here lately. This one is somewhat architecture related. Probably for those of you who are studying for Master Architect, watch out. We got a video coming out about that here very soon. It's probably a little easier for you than that. However, this exposes one of my favorite areas to talk about in Magento simply because it's confusing and we need to shine some light on this. It is really important. So without further ado, let's take a look here, folks. You are creating a new event observer. Well, that's been another thread here recently. Event observer. So let's go. That will queue an email notification regarding how to use the products ordered. So it's kind of like an idea of sending an email like a week after the order was shipped, and like, hey, here's your installation instructions, something along those lines. This must only take place on the front end, as the store administrators use a different process for these emails. Keeping maintainability in mind, what area do you choose and why? So basically the area for this event observer. And the important thing is, why are you doing this? So let's take a look at these options. Now, I would have loved to have blown this out a little bit more. So I am within some constraints on the number of questions here for this practice test. But let's take a look at these answers and see what we do here. So the front end, all checkout requests are routed here. This type of request is only triggered from the customer-facing area of the website. Web API REST payment requests are sent here. This still requires some level of caution, as modules could use this in the admin area. Global, but with a check for a not HTML admin HTML area. This accommodates all incoming requests. And I wanted to put this in just because the reasoning behind what we talk about is almost as important, maybe in some cases more important than the whatever we're doing, just the general reasoning, than the actual problem we're solving, because we want to have that overall architectural experience. So, so this is a matter of choices, and there are some right choices and there's some wrong choices in this. We have obviously only have 3 options here. Let's walk through them one at a time. Front end, all checkout requests are routed here. That is actually false, and I think this is I love this question because so many people do think of front end as the source of, or the area for checkout requests. Now, this is and when I say all checkout requests, that again, there's some ambiguity there. So what really this is talking about is those web requests, again, those checkout requests. So those are done through the REST API, which means that web API REST would be correct. Front end would completely miss those events from being triggered. And specifically, if we look back at the practice test question, this is where it's really important. It's one thing to take a scenario question and just and look at the answers individually. Well, it's really important to use what we've learned in the scenario itself to filter out the questions, or filter out the answer. So we know this is going to queue when the order is submitted. So based off of that, front end is out of the perspective. So we know that placing an order does not happen in the front end area. It happens in the web API REST area. If you don't believe me, go try it out for yourself. It's a mind exercise there. All right, so number 2, payment requests are sent here. This requires some level of caution, as modules could still use this in the admin area. And this is true. There theoretically could be a third-party module that does use this. For example, point of sale. Maybe, again, the point of sale is, I think, a great exception to this rule. And that's where it does justify this level of caution. So it does not, just because we have a web API request that has a sales place order after event being triggered, does not mean that we are in the process of where it's only going to be on the front end. There are some cases, and very legitimate cases, where this can be actually triggered in the web API REST scope, but it's not actually a customer placing an order with that place order button. So I would say B is plausible. And then let's look at C. Global, but with a check for the not HTML admin HTML area. This accommodates all incoming requests. So at this point, this one is also valid, right? So we axe out the admin area, HTML area, but it does not accommodate only the front end, right? That's what we're going after, only the front end place requests. And so for that reason, I am going to mark B, as you can, here we go, right back up here. You can see behind me, I'm going to mark that as the right answer, simply because it takes into account where payment requests are submitted. It does talk about the level of caution. And the other thing to keep in mind that it is Magento best practice, thus conversation about keeping maintainability in mind, as we see right here, keeping maintainability in mind. It is best practice to lock down your event observers into only the areas that they're using. If we have an event observer or DIXML, whatever, in the global scope, it just adds to the general overhead of running the application versus what is necessary for each specific scope. So that would be a maintainability subject there. Best practice, whatever, it's written down on the Magento website. So for this reason, and for these reasons, I would select B as the best answer of these three. Best and correct answer of these three. I hope you found that helpful, and I look forward to bringing another practice test question here to you next week. Take care.